something.
Hi, this is Dennis Tafe. After repeated sightings had been reported about a large ape-like creature, I had decided to go on an expedition, a 3-day expedition, last year, in search of what we know now is the Indiana Yeti, also known as the Indiana Sasquatch and the Indiana Bigfoot. Up until the expedition last year, the Indiana Yeti was more myth than reality.
What was that?
I don't know, but let's get out of here.
Even though many reports kept streaming in, there were still many doubters. However, what prompted me to continue my search for the Indiana Yeti were certain reports that really intrigued me. For example, the report by 7-year-old Little Willie.
I was 7 years old when I first heard him scream. It scared me then, and it scares me now.
Boys think about going turkey hunting this year?
I
think we ought to go.
Mr. Willie, my mom wants me to ask you, would you come down to our house? There's some kind of wild man down there in the woods by the creek.
Now, boy, I want you to go back down there and tell your mama there ain't a thing in the world to be afraid of. I'll come down there tomorrow and check it out. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
You know, that's the third time that old lady sent that kid up here to tell me there's a big old hairy monster down there in my field. I guess I'll have to get down there tomorrow and see about it.
Sadly, little Willie and his mother were never to be seen again. For me, this was a clear indication that this was the work of the Indiana Yeti. In other reports, it was suggested that the ape-like creature was 6 to 8 feet tall, and reports started coming in about a creature with incredible strength that only an Indiana Yeti could possess. Take, for example, what I like to call the 2 hogs incident.
Found one of them lying right here with deep gashes and cuts in him, his tongue was hanging out. Looked like something had strangled him. I keep them down here by the creek in this pen, and whatever it was, got in the pen, lifted both them 200-pound hogs over the fence. I couldn't find no place where they'd been dragged under. I couldn't find no tracks, so I figured whatever it was came and left traveling up and down that creek. Not knowing what had killed them hogs, I just threw them away. I carried them way off out there in the bushes so the smell wouldn't get back up the house there. Next day, got up and looked out there and thought it kind of funny, not seeing any buzzards circling or anything. So came down here and both hogs were gone. That thing, whatever it was, must have come back and the grass wasn't even disturbed where the hogs was. What kind of thing can pick up 200-pound hogs and walk off with them?
It was accounts like that that really inspired me to continue searching for the Indiana Yeti. I was quite determined, and with my own funds, I decided to mount a second expedition. With all the planning and resources that I would need, I had planned the expedition to take place during the winter of 2010. This gave me plenty of time to prepare for the new expedition. After the first expedition, I realized I would need some help. Unfortunately, I was unable to hire any professional Yeti hunters to assist me. However, as an alternative, an idea came to me that I already had the help that I needed. They just required a little training. With the new expedition just a few months away, I began to put my plan into action. First thing was to train my house cats, Toby and Midi, into professional Yeti hunters. They were just sitting around anyway. I must say that I was more enthusiastic than my cats were about this training idea. I also have the suspicion that they talked it over amongst themselves and were planning to resist. But I decided to begin the training. From the very beginning, I could tell that training my house cats to become master Yeti hunters was not going to be easy. I could tell that the younger cat, Midi, seemed to look forward to the training. However, my older cat, Toby, kept insisting that she did not require any training. While Toby was the older house cat, I thought that I would start by training her in some of the more subtle techniques that are required to be a master Yeti hunter. This is what I call a house cat right here. This is Toby Bob. I'm going to try to touch him now. This is very dangerous. Don't try this at home. Here we go. Toby. Toby Bob. Bow. 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 I suddenly felt a stinging, or more accurately, a burning sensation around my face, and I wasn't sure why. It wasn't until I reviewed the film footage in slow motion that I saw why. I was shocked by Toby's behavior and did not realize she could breathe fire. Toby apologized and explained that she was just showing one of her Yeti master hunting techniques. She likes to call it the dragon. I then focused my Yeti master hunting techniques training on Midi. Midi, being a very young house cat, took to it like it was second nature. All of a sudden, Midi was starting to display certain techniques that only master Yeti hunters would use. His sense of smell became so sensitive that he could uncover the smells of Yetis that were 200 or more miles away. If there was a Yeti around, Midi would find it. Taking a cue from the armed forces, I taught Midi to use stealth technologies to his advantage. Can you see Midi in this picture? Using advanced training techniques, Midi became an unseen master Yeti hunter that was able to sneak up on unsuspecting Yeti unannounced. Winter and the second Indiana Yeti expedition were coming soon. Lucky for me, Midi was a natural and gave every indication that he had become an expert Indiana Yeti hunter. On a regular basis, Midi would demonstrate that he could do the Yeti leap technique, which requires an enormous amount of power to leap forward and then back, repeatedly. I was stunned by Midi's athletic abilities, and I was sure that it would make the second expedition a real success. There is one thing I didn't count on, though. Midi was so exceptional that he began training himself, expanding on existing techniques. For example, Midi came up with a variation on the Yeti leap technique. He called it the Turbo Yeti leap. In this technique, Midi would accelerate to speeds in excess of 250 miles an hour in short bursts. During that time, he would create a double attack, which is too fast to be seen by the naked eye. Watching Midi's Turbo Yeti leap in slow motion reveals the grace and power required to execute such complicated moves. Yet Midi made it seem effortless. Midi had become a master Yeti hunter and did not require any more training. However, just to keep his skills at their peak, I would routinely allow Midi to do small Yeti searches in my backyard. I thought that it would be good practice for him. These Yeti searches would go on for hours, and Midi would take advantage of the situation by taking the opportunity to relieve himself from time to time. During one of these small Yeti searches, Midi became fixated on a particular tree, acting as if he had found some kind of Yeti. I found this rather peculiar. At the time, I just didn't take Midi seriously. Is it really possible that he could have found a Yeti in my backyard? The answer was a resounding yes. As it turns out, Midi's keen instincts had tracked what I believe to be an Indiana Yeti infant, not quite full grown, but who would soon grow up into a huge beast. The Indiana Yeti infant seemed to have something in his mouth, which appeared to be a biscuit. For the first time, I felt true fear, because at any moment, the Indiana Yeti infant could have attacked me with his sharp claws. Luckily for me, at the base of the tree, Midi kept a close eye on the Indiana Yeti infant. While the Indiana Yeti infant ate his biscuit, I noticed that his tail had curled up, a sure sign that he was in attack mode. As time went on, Midi became more aggressive in his attempts to capture the Indiana Yeti infant. The little Indiana Yeti infant was hundreds of feet in the air, perched on his tree, and Midi was unable to physically capture the beast. After a few moments, I heard Midi begin to speak Yeti. He was trying to flatter the Indiana Yeti infant into dropping his biscuit, which would have been one of the first steps needed to capture the small beast. Then, just like that, the little Indiana Yeti infant disappeared. The close-up encounter with the little Indiana Yeti infant really frightened me. I'd never been that close to a Yeti before. In fact, for the next few days, I kept searching for the little Indiana Yeti infant. And in fact, I do think that one day I actually saw him, but he was so far away that there was no possibility that I could catch him. Finally, I was ready for the second expedition, and not a moment too soon. Both of my house cats were trained as master Yeti hunters, and winter was quickly approaching. Training my house cats to become master Yeti hunters was a brilliant move on my part, I thought. You see, most people try to use dogs, and everyone knows that dogs are afraid of Yetis. For example, I had recently heard about a Yetti hunt, which was a total failure because they decided to use dogs.
A big hunt was organized, with some of the best hunting dogs in Arkansas and Texas involved. They even brought in some famous dogs from Tennessee. I got to go along, and I still vividly recall how I was trembling with excitement. We had heard that earlier some other dogs had refused to trail the creature, cowing in fear and running back at the first whiff of his sour pig pen smell. But we were confident our dogs would get the job done.
What it's all about. Yeah. Hey, Earl, where'd that old boy go brought them dogs in here? Yeah, I see that. Where'd you get that black sand, right? That old good boy, he's out of that litter by that old long-nosed Dick Willie. Pretty good dog, too. This when old Henry Red Dog crossed the trail. There won't be no doubt it's him. Runs on two legs.
While several groups hunted on foot, others scouted designated areas on horseback. While we made our way along the dirt road he had been crossing, the men on horseback swept across the woodlands along the creek areas. About this time, our dog struck his trail where he'd crossed the road.
Go get him. Go get him. They found his trail. Go get him. Attaboy, trail now. Get him, brother.
You've never seen a more embarrassed and angry group of dog owners. Not a one of these famous hunting dogs would trail the creature's scent. They whined, tucked their tails, and came running back, obviously scared. I was sure disappointed.
Everyone knows you can't use dogs. Anyway, a report came in that there were some Yeti tracks sighted in a field on a farm that is right next to the location of the second expedition. This was very exciting news.
Excitement in the community reached a new peak when a farmer named O.H. Kennedy discovered these strange three-toed footsteps in Willie Smith's bean field. Radio, newspaper, and television coverage resulted in nationwide publicity.
How narrow it is. Must not be over 4 inches wide.
Mr. Kennedy, you say you found these tracks late Sunday. Now, was that late yesterday afternoon?
Yes, sir. Just before sundown. My wife and I went out for a ride. She's been feeling poorly lately. And we decided to stop by the bean field to see if the ground was too wet to plow. We called Willie Smith right away.
Mr. Kennedy, do you think this creature could be a Sasquatch?
Sasquatch? I don't believe I know what that is, sir.
Well, the Sasquatch was the Indians' word for a legendary giant tribe of very shy people. They live mostly in the woods up in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, I didn't see anybody. All I've seen, sir, is these tracks.
Well, now, doesn't the Sasquatch have a normal 5 toes? This thing here has only 3 toes.
Yes, and the adult Sasquatch footprint is bigger, too. It's 18 inches long on the average.
Could these be gorilla tracks?
No, I don't think it's a gorilla. A gorilla has 5 toes and very seldom moves upright on 2 legs for very long. This thing had had to drop down on all 4s to travel this far.
What about a orangutan? This is the same thing people around here have reported seeing over the past few years. He's reddish-brown. That's the same color as orangutan.
Well, I don't think this could be orangutan. The number of the toes are wrong.
Excuse me, Mr. Kennedy, you spent a lot of time working in this field, right? Did you ever see tracks like this any here before?
No, sir. I can't say as I have. There's a lot of fresh animal tracks around this field all the time. Deer and wolf and bobcat and all kinds of other tracks, but I've never seen anything like these before.
Well, Mr. Kennedy, did you ever hear anything out of the ordinary down here?
Well, I've heard some pretty peculiar things out here, but I've never seen nothing unusual out of this before.
I wonder what moves the creature to pick a particular patch of woods and return to it again and again. These woods, next to the bean field, must be one of his favorite haunts.
Oh, and what I heard, I guess it was what I didn't hear that made it kind of spooky. Even when that tractor's running and you can't hear nothing, you get a funny feeling that something's wrong. Then I wasn't sure, but I think I'd hear a low growl or a hoot or a grunt or something from back at the trees, and you know there's something out there's watching you. And there's some kind of animal hanging around this field, all right. And he ain't no animal that from this part of the country.
A report of tracks sighted near the expedition site was great news. On the day of the expedition, I woke up in sheer excitement. Though I looked out the window and realized that there had been a big snow the night before. Still, this did not bother me at all. And in fact, I began imagining that my 2 secret weapons, my house cat master Yeti hunters, foraging in the snow to find the Yeti. Sadly, I was in for a rude awakening when I discovered that my house cat master Yeti hunters, on the day of the second expedition, performed less than admirably. Some might even call it pathetic. Midi, let's go outside. On the way to the expedition site, I was greeted with a horrendously cold wind. It really was very cold. For the first few minutes, my house cat master Yeti hunters were doing okay. However, do you remember how I imagined that my 2 house cat master Yeti hunters would forage through the snow looking for the Yeti with sheer bravery and conquering the elements without fear? Well, unfortunately, the reality was a little different. In fact, I couldn't find my house cats anywhere. It's as if they had simply disappeared. Eventually, I did locate them, and it was just sad. Midi. Come on, guys. We've trained for this all summer. Come on, don't fail me now. In a sheer act of mutiny, both of my house cats refused to go any further, so I decided to leave them at home and began the expedition. My expedition began well when I discovered tracks on the way to the Yeti mating grounds. As you can tell, we've got some tracks here in the snow. And I think I've been tracking a Yeti for quite a while, actually. Yes, there's definitely a Yeti around somewhere. In any case, let's find out. I'll just follow these tracks, and as you can tell, look at the size of the tracks. They're huge. My God, it is a Yeti. By the way, I realize that there are many doubters who don't believe that there is an Indiana Yeti. But sometimes, you have to see one to believe.
That's Charlie Walraven coming down the road. This road runs along the north side of the woods.
It was long about dark. I was heading into town that evening when I seen this thing come out across the road in front of my car. I just couldn't even believe what I was watching. You know, I reckon there's a lot of folks that don't believe anything till they see it for themselves. Of course, if they like me, maybe they'd be wishing they hadn't seen what they did. You know, that thing gonna up and kill somebody one of these days, sure as the world.
I had finally arrived at the Yeti mating grounds. There used to be many sightings of the Yeti, as he didn't seem to fear people, until Yeti hunting became more popular. Or at least that's what I was told by members of the Crabtree family, who were a local family who had many encounters with the Indiana Yeti.
When the creature was first seen, he didn't seem to make any special effort to hide from people. At least Fred Crabtree, a farmer who hunted a lot, had that opinion.
Be some kind of a wild man. I couldn't tell all that hair just what it was. I changed my shells and my shotgun from squirrel shot to my buckshot. More for my protection than anything else. If I'd have had my rifle, I believe I could have knocked him down easy. But I doubt if I would have. Because I kept thinking, it's just a chance. Might be a man. And if I'd have shot that thing, it turned out to be a man, I'd have had to live with that the rest of my life.
Although he was never sure, Fred got the impression the creature had been washing his feet in the icy water.
This is the Yeti's natural habitat, their mating grounds. But it's winter now, and so the mating seems to have ceased for the moment. I was hoping to run across an Indiana Yeti infant, but so far, no. Now perhaps if I go downstream a little bit. Let's take a look. I was glad that I had run into the Crabtrees before my expedition. They told me all kinds of stories about Yeti sightings and encounters. In fact, it was James Crabtree who said he had also seen the Yeti after Fred Crabtree had seen him.
A few months later, James Crabtree was squirrel hunting, only a short distance from the spot where Fred Crabtree had seen him.
I've spent a lot of my life in these woods, and there was something strange about that evening that I couldn't put my finger on it. It was just a feeling I had. There didn't seem to be as many birds and little small animals out as usual. In fact, they They seem mighty scarce. It was some kind of thing that I've never come across before. Well, he stared at me for a little while, and he just slipped out of sight. I never saw him again.
Neither Fred Crabtree nor his Uncle James told anyone about their experience for years. They figured nobody would believe them.
Well, I, for one, certainly believe the Crabtrees. I found them to be very credible. The more time I spent on my expedition, the more I saw the beauty of the outdoors. It really was breathtaking.
This is where the story plays, a world on which we seldom gaze, a page from the book of yesterdays, birds and beasts and wind and water, here beneath the bright blue sky, no man's more blind the eagle's eye, and things that crawl or swim or fly, feed and breed and live and die.
Seasons pass. Summers into falls, winters into springs, and somewhere in the remote wilderness of the bottoms, the creature spent his days.
Sulphur River flows, rising when the storm cloud blows, and this is where the creature goes, safe within a world he knows. Perhaps he dimly wonders why there is no other such as I, to touch, to love before I die, to listen to my lonely cry.
Well, I was about 5 days into the expedition and was suffering from the below negative temperatures. And I realize now that I'm glad that I didn't bring my house cats, after recalling the Mary Beth Searcy incident that the Crabtrees had told me about.
Mary Beth Searcy is a teenage student. Right now, her older married sister and her baby are visiting. Her father's working in another town, and her younger brother is spending the night with a friend. So this evening, just the two girls, their mother, and the baby will be alone in this house. They have no phone, and the nearest neighbor is a mile or so across the woods.
Mary Beth? Mary Beth, would you please hang something over the window? There's a draft on the baby. Yeah, okay. Just a minute. Mary Beth, would you please hurry up? This draft's gonna give the baby a cold. Okay, okay.
The freezing temperatures really made me glad that I didn't bring my house cats. Take a look along that creek bed. There's probably many Yetis that were born here, and so they come back every year, you see. So chances are good that we'll be able to run into one. Let's see how far. Yeah, we're just gonna have to follow that all the way here. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is definitely Yeti country. A recent sighting of the Indiana Yeti was made by a 13-year-old hunter not too long ago.
If, like this 13-year-old boy, you've grown up as a woodsman and hunter, you never miss an opportunity to get yourself a deer. Yes, there's no doubt about it. The dogs are hot on the trail, chasing the deer in this direction.
Oh no. Well, I thought it was. Wait, maybe it is. Anyway, I've realized that in my expeditions searching for the Yeti, well, you just have to be patient, you know. And if you're not patient, well. When I had visited the Crabtrees, they suggested that I spend a weekend with their boy, Travis. I reluctantly agreed.
Travis Crabtree is the kind of fearless outdoor kid that would have gone anyway, even knowing the creature was around. There's nothing Travis likes better than to spend the weekend camping on one of the hilltop islands created by high water deep in the bottomland.
So I went canoeing with Travis Crabtree.
Hey, Travis Crabtree, wait a minute for me. Let's go back in the bottom, back where the fish are biting, where all the world's inviting, and nobody sees the flowers bloom but me. Travis Crabtree, do you see what I see? On the gentle winds of morning, a million birds are singing, like the bells of heaven ringing, and nobody sees the flowers bloom but me. Drop me on a patch of land, never stepped upon my man, where the crystal water flows deep, while the falcon flies high across the yellow-eyed sky. Lord, ain't it great to be free? Hey, Travis Crabtree, it's the right life for me. The bottom, while the birds and beasts are crying, because the sun is dying, and nobody sees the flowers bloom but me, and nobody sees the flowers bloom but me. And nobody sees the flowers bloom but me.
As the canoe trip went on, I became much more frightened, especially when he invited me to meet his friend, Herb.
Travis always stops off for a visit and a cup of coffee with Herb Jones. Herb Jones is a man who likes a lot of privacy. He's been living alone in these bottoms for the past 20 years.
Hey, Herb! Well, friends.
Travis always enjoys these visits with Herb
Herb, how you been
and
doing?
never fails to bring him tobacco and other supplies. Herb can spin yarns for hours about his experiences with the wild creatures of the bottomland. Herb tells Travis to be on the lookout for a big old wild boar with double curled tusks he spotted a day or two earlier. Herb limps because he once accidentally shot part of his foot away in a boating accident. Although he was all alone, he made it out of the bottoms to a doctor.
Yeah, I guess kind of like the rheumatism. I've been living down here by myself for a long time. About 14 miles by boat from my place to the nearest road. And it's a pretty good walk to town. Them Crabtree boys, especially that Travis, always drop by to see me when they come hunting or fishing. They always bring me tobacco and sugar and stuff like that. Even a bottle of wine every once in a while. Did you notice my bottle tree on the way in? I use them bottles as floats on my trot lines. I catch some mighty big catfish and buffalo on them lines. There's an old crane flies over every day. Looks at my place. I don't know what he's looking for. Once you get to know these bottoms, you never lack for something to do. People always ask me why I stay down here. I tell them I stay because I like it better here than I would anywhere else. Looks like they could figure that out for themselves. Another thing. I let me tell you something. There ain't no such thing. I've been living here in these bottoms for better than 20 years. I ain't never seen or heard no monster.
Now what I can tell from right there is that the Yeti's definitely been here, probably to get a drink of the sparkling water. Here, and that water is as clean as tap water. Yeah. It's not quite bottled water, but it's pretty close. Yes, it's definitely a Yeti has come here. In fact, we take a look, there's a little clearing here. See that right there? See how the rest of it's snow, but right there in that little area, right there, there it is. That's where the Yeti has been drinking. Many repeated sightings by children are discounted, much like the boy cries wolf story. Children have amazing imaginations. But once in a while, a report comes along that seems credible.
Smith's children playing at the edge of the woods over there, where Kennedy heard the creature.
Grandpa! 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 I'm gonna wake up your grandpa. Let's go! Let's go! Sure, Daddy's still down there by that big bed. Don't stop there. Why not? You're gonna wake up your grandpa. If you don't be quiet, we'll get a switch. Well, Mom, when you come downstairs and let us shout you, you'll be wrong. Shut up! Oh, you know there isn't anything there. There it is. Come on, hurry, he might go. Yeah. He doesn't go.
Now what I can tell from right there is that the Yeti's definitely been here. After spending weeks on the expedition, my supplies were running low. A few more reports came in, and one thing I noticed was how bold the Indiana Yeti was. He wasn't afraid of anything.
On a bright moonlight night like this one, you'd figure he'd stay out of sight, but nothing seems to worry him when the urge to prowl comes over him. It could have been a fatal mistake if the man who lives here had been home tonight. He has a high-powered rifle handy and knows how to use it. His daughter Nancy has invited 2 girlfriends over for a bunking party.
No, our team's much better in Arkansas High. You know that. Arkansas High, well. I know, but they're defensive. Yeah, but look at their offenses. Nancy, I like the way they cut your hair. I think it's cute. Well, Frank liked it long. He's been sulking all week. Now, don't pay any attention to him. He doesn't know anything about it. Did y'all hear something? That's the wind. I can't see anything. Do you? No, I don't see anything. Then it must have been the wind. I hope. Let's all have a coat. Do y'all want one? Yeah, get one. Yeah. Nancy, there's somebody moving around outside this trailer. Do you think it could be some of the guys? If it is, I'll kill them. I can't believe it's them. They went to that game in Texarkana. Listen. I hear something breathing. I'm gonna look out. No?
Next morning, when her parents returned, they would find the girl still half hysterical with shock. Before the creature finally wandered off, he smashed flower pots and overturned everything in sight.
I can tell from the tracks here in the snow and dirt that it was probably a female Yeti with a few of her cubs. Little Yeti cubs, you know. And the little Yeti cubs, you know, they're not very big, but they have ferocious claws, even at a very young age. So you've got to be really careful. In fact, you know, I think right now just being out here in the open, you know, may not be the best of ideas. You know, an adult Yeti will protect her cubs, and she might see me as a threat. Now granted, you know, if I curled up in a fetal position, then she might mistake me for one of the cubs, and that's just as dangerous. You know, she might take me back to her habitat. Well, the end of my second expedition in search of the Indiana Yeti was coming to a close. I had been out in the wilderness for over a month straight and was exhausted. Yet I had not seen even one Yeti. However, I still considered it a success because I was really able to bond with nature. Besides, I began to fear for my own safety. So I packed up my gear and started the long trek home, but not before reading one more report that had occurred not far from my present location.
In the spring, this house was rented to two young couples who moved in together to save money. Turner, his wife Ann, and Don Ford, who is Ann Turner's brother, and Don's wife Sue. Each couple had a small child. Don and Charles had just been hired by a big cattle ranch in the Fouke area. Since both men would be required to work late at night, the girls would be company to each other. The two families moved in on Monday. Thursday night, the first of a series of hair-raising incidents occurred.
I don't know. Let's take the kids and go to the landlord.
Good look around, and I couldn't find the thing. Are you sure you don't want to go back to my place till the men get here?
No, that's okay. If you've checked and you're sure there's nothing here, then we'll be okay, I think.
I couldn't find a thing, but I'll come back in a little while and check on you.
Okay, listen, Mr. Johnson, we sure do thank you. We appreciate it so much.
Well, you're welcome. I'll wait here till you get in the house.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The next day, Friday, the Fords and Turners had visitors. Don Ford's younger brother, Bobby Ford, and a cousin, 12-year-old Corky Hill, arrived for the weekend. They'd heard about the great fishing around Fock and were anxious to wet a hook.
Y'all be back before dark.
Yeah, we're going to bring back the supper.
told you the fishing was good here.
They're here. Just have patience. What do you want?
Just come here, come here! Boy, look at the size of that guy's footprint.
That ain't no footprint.
That's funny.
Well, what's so funny about that?
He's only got 3 toes.
Well, it's getting kind of late and the fish aren't biting anyway, so I think we ought to go.
Sure is spooky down here.
Little did the renters know that the tracks they had found signified what was yet to come, that there was a Yeti nearby, an Indiana Yeti.